Finding that next dynasty running back is always ever elusive, but we've got 2 buys for you and 2 guys to sell right now. We've got all sorts of stuff coming out here on the Face Off Sports Network, so be sure to subscribe, catch up on all of our buy sell videos for each position, look at our dynasty rankings, and of course, watch out for that rookie content coming out soon here on the Face Off Sports Network. Coach, it's time to talk about one of the most important positions in all of fantasy football. It's trying to find that next running back to make it big. And I think it's going to be interesting going into this offseason. Last year, we had the huge class of running backs in the draft class. This year, there's going to be a couple names that we're certainly going to be watching towards. But let's talk about some guys that we could be looking to move or to add to our rosters. And I'm going to kick us off starting off with Bill Croskey-Merrit, the running back from Washington. Obviously, I'm a homer, so I'm willing to admit that right at the start. But at the same time, I think he's currently worth the ad. I mean, we saw what he did during the season, Coach, where he had multiple finishes as Rookie of the Week, multiple finishes of Rookie of the Month. He kind of had that lull in the middle of the season where the team wasn't really using him. He kind of fell off. I think he's just a cheap ad. There's a good chance that this team has to use him again because they only have a few draft picks and they have holes everywhere on defense and holes on that offensive line. I think that's going to get addressed first. I think they might be able to just turn it back and say, all right, Bill, we're going to give you a year to prove it. And if that's the case, now's the time to go and buy him, Coach, because again, I think he's got the opportunity to have a heavy workload or at least an increased workload from this past season.
Yeah, he sort of rode that rookie roller coaster throughout the season. Early on he was really hot. Everybody was trying to get a piece of the Bill Croskey-Merrit pie, so to speak. But then as the year went, he struggled. Middle of the year, he kind of struggled. The offense went away from him a little bit. But then when they came back to him at the end of the year, he really produced. It's going to be worth monitoring what happens in the backfield situation with Washington in the offseason. Like, what do they do there? But it's kind of like you say, I do think they come back to Bill. He's going to be a big part of that offense. I also think you can get him pretty cheap. What do you think his price tag is right now, Matt?
Honestly, I think you could probably send a late second, maybe a couple thirds, and go and get him. I mean, a lot of people are going to just be kind of off the roller coaster that it was, like you mentioned. I mean, he averaged 8.5 points, forced a 20% missed tackle rate. So I think there's opportunity for him to be better and to continue to grow because, again, Washington does not have a ton of draft capital, and it's going to have to get used on defense. It's going to have to get used on offensive lines. There's holes everywhere. Now, this would not surprise me if this were a landing spot for a running back to sign to. So you will certainly have to weather that storm. But if they don't sign anyone and they don't draft anyone, Bill Croskey-Merritt's draft stock or cost is going to drive through the roof. It's going to be absolutely really, really high, in my opinion, to where you might have a free starting running back. It's a lot like Trevor Tracy.
Well, another part of this, the offense struggled too. Jaden Daniels' injury, which led to the offense struggling quite a bit. You get a healthy Jaden Daniels, a healthy team. Bill probably produces more, and it's in higher volume. With higher volume, he would have produced more, and a better offense would have helped that. So we're just taking a shot. Jaden Daniels is coming back. Everything next year is going to be better again in Washington. That's another thing you got to rely on as well.
Yeah, I mean, looking at what he did, averaged over 4.5 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. So you like to see that number from a rookie. Only 175 attempts. Not a bunch of involvement in the passing game. But again, like you mentioned, Coach, a bunch of these games were with Marcus Mariota or partially with Jaden Daniels. I mean, this offense was just a train wreck from the start. Going to have a new coordinator coming in. So we'll see what happens with David Blau. I'm hoping for the best, Coach. I'm rooting for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there. There's a lot of room for improvement, obviously, and just a healthy Jaden Daniels alone is going to do some of that.
Why don't you give us our next running back, Coach? Tell us who you got.
I'm gonna do a sell right here. We're gonna talk about selling a guy that people are going. It's gonna raise some people's eyebrows, but it just is what it is. It's Saquon Barkley. He's a guy. Now is perfect time to sell Saquon Barkley. We talked about on our quarterback video. I don't know if ever you guys got to watch that, but if you did, we talked about name value, and name value is a thing when it comes to Saquon Barkley. Like, everybody knows the name. Some people just automatically assume he's amazing, but the reality is this past season he was RB14. So I think you can get more than he's actually worth due to his name value. So I think now's the best time to sell him. He's trending down. The offense is probably trending down. He's getting older by the day. All those things can be taken into account. I think he had around 14 points per game this year. It's really about the Eagles' offense. What's going on there? It just wasn't attractive at all this year to watch. Like, it was kind of a mess. which it led to his production going down as well. But that being said, people will overpay for Saquon Barkley, and now's the time to capitalize on that.
Yeah, especially as this playoff run starts. I mean, we've got the playoffs that are kicking off today, coach. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe he plays well. His value will shoot up a little bit, but he's about to turn 29. So next year is really going to be the point where you have to make the decision. When are you going to get off the ride? Because we all know that it's going to fall off eventually. If we look at his production after that monster 2,000-yard season, he had about 60% of what he did the year before. Only 1,100 yards on the ground this year. Had about half the touchdowns that he had last year with only 7 rushing, 2 through the air. So the volume was basically the same. I mean, he had a little bit reduced workload running the ball, but the results were just vastly different, coach. I mean, we weren't seeing the big plays like he had in the historic 2024 season. So I think for the most part, I would be looking to sell him, see if you can capitalize on that name value right now, because there's some other names out there, coach, that I would rather have. I would see if I could go get a Quinshon Judkins. I would see if I could go get a Hampton or, maybe a James Cook, a Kyron Williams, because some of these guys are going to give you a plus coming back to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to. Like, some people, Derrick Henry makes some people want to hang on to the ride longer. Everybody's not Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley very well may fall off even further. And I do think if you can get a Judkins or something like that, Kyle, you have scored. And you got to at least go try. Like, anytime that someone gets a trade offer that includes Saquon Barkley, they're at least going to think about it. So you got to keep that in mind also.
Because he'll probably be a top 12 back next year. Barring injury, he's going to have the workload and the opportunity to be good next year. It's just once that these running backs fall off, you can't go back. You can't get the volume back. You can't get the opportunity back that's going to change your fantasy roster. So if you're stuck holding the bag, it's going to forever change your team.
Yeah, you're not kidding there. Like, we've all ran into that. You take an older guy to try to win right now, and then you get stuck holding him, and then you end up giving him away for nothing eventually.
Yeah. Well, let's transition, coach, to another buy here, and let's talk about a guy who's been in the league for 4 years. It's been up and down for him. Had a season where he finishes RB2, finishes RB16. This year, Breece Hall finishes the RB19. Now, the Jets were in absolute turmoil, coach. I know you could talk for about an hour and a half about the quarterback play there and what's going on, but all we need to know is that Breece Hall is a free agent. He might be able to be free from this mess, and that would be wonderful to see. I could see him landing in a spot like Kansas City. I could see him going to Washington. I mentioned they need a running back. There's going to be teams out here that could use some help, and he's going to be huge. I mean, it was a down year for him, but again, I don't put much stock in that because him getting 1,000 yards on 243 carries was impressive to me. I'll be honest. I mean, they were so bad. It's incredible he was even able to do that. We've seen elite numbers from him out of the backfield this year, a career low 36 receptions, but before that had 57, 76. So he's great out of the backfield. I think if he can find a change in his home location, he could certainly be a big-time running back that gets a lot higher in these dynasty rankings.
Okay, so I'm going to pose a question back to you here, Matt, when it comes to Breece Hall. Do you think you wait and see where he lands first before you go make a move to go buy him, or do you do it now? Because it's going to be cheaper now, possibly.
Yeah, I think if you do it right now, it's going to be cheaper. If you wait and he ends up signing with Kansas City, his value is going to be insane. If he signs with Washington, it's going to be insane. If maybe Dallas loses Javonte and he goes to Dallas, his value would be through the roof. We know that Jerry wants to sign a big name somewhere. So if you have the opportunity to purchase him now, I would 100% do it because I think it's going to be cheaper than wherever he ends up. Because we know he's going to get the majority of the workload. At least in my opinion, I think he's proved that much that he's that good of a running back.
Yeah, so if you had a guy like Saquon Barkley, right, and you moved him for Breece Hall, and you're getting a plus back there.
Yeah, you probably can get a second or a third or something back. I wouldn't even care. Just give me Breece Hall and something, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, but it's true. Breece Hall is a guy a lot of people have kind of forgot about. He can play. He was with the Jets, guys. Like, they were awful. Like, nothing that happened there even matters when it comes to him and Garrett Wilson. Like, those guys can play. The place is just a disaster. Wherever he goes, he's going to be even better.
I totally agree, Coach. I totally agree. Yeah. Why don't you close us out here with our final sell on the day, Coach?
Man, final sell. This is hard for me. Obviously, I'm wearing my Bears jersey. Matt's over here picking guys that are on his team, and I'm over here selling one. DeAndre Swift. We're going to look to move on from DeAndre Swift, who has been phenomenal. He's had a heck of a season. The Bears O-line has been amazing, like it really has. But he's not going to produce more next year than he did this year. So you got to keep that in mind. What you got this year is probably his ceiling. His best year yet by far of his career. Very touchdown heavy. He's clearly splitting carries. It's more of a 50-50 split with Kyle Monangai, who's a guy you need to think about buying because he's really cheap. You can get him for cheap. But DeAndre Swift, you kind of got the peak of what he can do. I really believe that. So now's a good chance for you to move on. He's a guy I was buying this time last year, and now he had a really good season. And now I'm going to try to go ahead and move off of him for someone else a little more steady and a plus possibly, depending on what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a career high for him, in yards, had almost 1,100 yards on the season, career high in total touchdowns where he had 10. The yards per carry, not necessarily his career high, but it was up there with it. Very, very good, very efficient. This Bears team completely redid the interior offensive line, and that made a monstrous difference. We could talk about the tackles. Coach Darnell Wright, all-pro, looked the part, looked like a guy who's going to be a fantastic tackle going forward, especially run blocking. The guy's a bulldozer. But what we know is, I'm like you, Coach, I don't think he's the long-term answer. I mean, he's 26, going to be 27. He's a guy that's in an offense that wants to feature multiple backs. You mentioned Monangai. He's going to get his workload. He's basically playing 50% of the snaps already, and we're looking at his best year that he's ever had. And when we look at what he was kind of the difference maker on, is we've talked a lot about, okay, well, maybe Swift is a little bit better out of the backfield catching the ball. Well, he had a career low in receptions, only 34, 299 yards on the season. So I'm not really sure that's even going to save his fantasy value. He finishes the RB15. I don't necessarily expect that to replicate. He might stick around with the team for another year, ride it out a little bit, but I would be looking to move off of him based on this season because I think you can get someone to overpay.
Yeah, I agree. I was buying DeAndre Swift, and I still think this is probably true for both of us. He outproduced and has played better than either one of us ever expected him to play.
Mm-hmm.
And now, again, you got to capitalize when it's time. It's not going to be better. So now's the time where you can get off of him and get something in return.
Yeah, I think when we were trying to buy him for our rosters, we were talking about a guy that could finish as, a back-end RB2, somewhere around 20 overall, 22 overall. And here we are. He finished at 15, which, don't get me wrong, that's huge for the teams where we went and got him. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think we can expect that to replicate itself again. I think it's probably going to regress. Monangai could get worked in more. Maybe something happens. You just never know. There's so much to consider. So I would be looking to capitalize on this good year and sell this Bears offense, especially if they start to make a playoff run, Coach.
Yeah, and you got to kind of think about the possibility of moving off of DeAndre Swift for a guy like Kyle Monangai and a small plus. Because that's where it's at. You got to be careful moving these guys just for second round picks and stuff like that. Those things get really dicey. Like if you can get a steady player with potential and a later round pick, then that's the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about, and I'm sure we'll talk about it ad nauseum over the next couple of weeks of what's the difference between a second and a third round pick. There's a lot of data that suggests they're not really that different. So we'll talk more about that down the road, Coach. But that's going to do it for our Dynasty running back buys and sells. So as always, we appreciate you for being here. Throw in the comments who you've got as your Dynasty buy sell questions, and we will certainly come back and answer those. Check out the other ranking videos we've got for each position, the other buy sell videos for each position, and of course, all the rookie content that is coming down the line here soon. We'll catch you in the next.